Hello everyone. This is an assignments reminder for week 3. So for this week, we'll be moving to a new module, First Contact. In the takeaway activity, some of you mentioned what you will be taking with you from the last module to this new module. For instance, Kevin and Derek mentioned the criteria of science fiction, such as science fiction should critique the science and technology of the time. It should predict the future evolution of the science and technology, and it should address the impact of the science and technology on human beings. Yasmin mentioned the icons or signs of science fiction, such as aliens, robots, time travel, and spaceships, while Lindsay, Nusrat, and Devorai mentioned the history and varieties of science fiction, such as the magazine era, cyberpunk, hard and soft science fiction. Daniela, Zelma, and Michael mentioned this little cartoon in the beginnings module, emphasizing the influence of science fiction on our culture, despite it not being taken seriously until recently. So in the cartoon, we can see representations of proper literature and science fiction literature. The figure here that represents science fiction literature is actually saying, "You're all just jealous of my jetpack." And this astronaut seems to be saying it to the representatives of proper literature, symbolized by these 3 academics all dressed in black and look very solemn and serious. And there are others in class who have used the activity to get a firm sense of the definition of science fiction, to distinguish it from other genres, such as fantasy, for example. In her activity, Maria says, "Thinking about it now, science fiction is one big science fair, compiled of different experiments, all for different reasons, yet all for the same goal, to come together to share the wonder of the constantly evolving wonders of science." I think that Maria's use of the word wonder twice implies something very important about science fiction writers. They attempt to understand the mysteries of life and creation through science and the human imagination. Now that you have a foundation, you're going to build on it to understand science fiction literature on an even deeper level. In the First Contact module, we'll examine one of the icons Gwyneth Jones mentions in her essay, the alien. To examine the representation of the alien in science fiction literature, you will read H.G. Wells's classic novel, The War of the Worlds, Book 1, pages 7 to 112. Then, you will, for week 3, take quiz number 2. So after viewing these 2 videos, the alien in science fiction literature, it's actually 3 videos, I should say, the alien in science fiction literature, an introduction to the War of the Worlds, and the timeline of Martian discoveries, you'll respond to the 5 following questions. What does the term first contact actually mean? From which word does alien derive? And what does this word mean? What does the alien tend to represent in science fiction literature? What is an epigraph? What is the purpose of an epigraph? And what exactly is the epigraph at the beginning of the War of the Worlds? According to the timeline of Martian discoveries, a scientist in 1873 wrote an article about the vegetation on Mars. Who was the scientist and what did he claim about the vegetation in his article? This question is important because Wells was writing in 1897 and he was very aware of who this scientist was and what his discovery was as well. So this quiz is worth 5 points and it's due by the end of the day on September 14th. Then we have course survey number 1 for you to respond to, and this course survey is important because it will help me to make adjustments to the course, to the content and the delivery of the course, if you believe adjustments should be made. Then we have discussion forum number 3. In her critical essay, Jones claims that science fiction contains signs or icons that tell us we have entered the world of science fiction. One of the icons, as I've mentioned, are aliens. And as we've seen, aliens represent something specific in science fiction, but what they represent usually depends on the context in which we find them. So you'll think about the alien and the War of the Worlds and what the alien may represent in Wells's novel. And I direct you to a specific page in chapter 1. And I give you a couple of steps to follow so you can really think about and explore this concept of the alien in science fiction literature. So your main post is due by the end of the day on September 14th, and your reply to your peer is due again by the end of the day on the 16th. Then there's quiz number 3. So you'll watch these videos, point of view and foreshadowing, and you'll answer these 5 questions. And that's due by the end of the day on September 16th. And then journal entry number 3, also due by the end of the day on September 16th. And this journal entry asks you to think about the narrator of the War of the Worlds. So after you watch that video on point of view, you'll get a deeper sense of the importance of the narrator. And the narrator is, in my opinion, the most important part of any story, because the narrator is the viewpoint in which the story is being told. So it's very important for us to get a clear sense of who is telling us the story in the War of the Worlds. So that's it. Those are the assignments for this week. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to email me. You could also post your questions in the class questions forum, and I'll respond back to you in that forum. My virtual office hour for this week is Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. I don't anticipate a scheduling change this week, and I do apologize for canceling last week's office hour. So if you'd like to speak with me in person, please stop by on Thursday between 1 and 2. So have a great week, everyone. Bye now.